everyone, welcome to a new video. We are here at WordCamp Europe and I get to talk to Mary Hubbard. In case you never met her, she's executive lead of the WordPress project. Is that the correct term? Yeah, Mary, maybe introduce yourself to the people who maybe don't know you yet.
Sure. So I joined the WordPress project October 2024. I've previously come from TikTok, where I was the head of North America Governance and Experience team, as well as Automatic prior to that. So I was the head of product engineering and the CXO for .com, WordPress.com. Prior to that, I was lead of the marketplace for WooCommerce. And so I have a lot of experience with technology and product development. So like my career started at eBay. We built out the first pen systems or Fitbit. And then I went to launch the third-party marketplace for Walmart. And so I did a nice little stint in the e-commerce before moving over to product and engineering for Assurant. Assurant's like the world's largest insurance underwriter and carrier. And so kind of found my way through many different tech stacks and different product deliverables. So yeah, it's like what I love to do. And now I'm here.
Yeah, now you're at your first WordCamp, as you just said.
The first ever is amazing.
Yeah, what are your impressions so far?
So I keep being told that the bar is set very high, like not to expect this in other places, because this is astounding. Like from the venue to the city to just the people. I was told a lot of things about WordCamps and like what to expect, but it's exceeded all of those expectations. And the floor room, the trade show floor, is gorgeous. So yeah. I mean, it's been a great experience. I'm having a really good time. Awesome. Not to mention, like, I'm tired.
Yeah,
yeah,
we all are.
Right?
Second day night. That's
like, and everyone's just out and about. It's crazy to me. Like the first night, people were out till 3. I just had a meeting and they said they were out till 4, and yet they're here for the first session. They're here around 9. Yeah,
I don't know how they do that.
I mean, the people are napping, I'm sure, but like, wow, so it's been so cool to see. And like I was sharing, when I was at Automatic before, it was during COVID. Mm-hmm. So I never got to really do any of this. We were not going anywhere, really doing much externally, obviously. So
awesome. So your first WordCamp is a success.
Yes,
great.
High bar.
Yeah, you obviously entered your role at we could say pivotal moment for WordPress. For all of us being in WordPress for some time, this is a intense time. We've seen lots of changes, lots of discussions going on about the project. What would you say when you entered the program or the project itself? What were your main focus points? So,
I first focused on listening, and I still do a lot of listening. And I'm like a classic lurker, so I wanted to pay attention in a like non-aggressive way. So I just wanted to be there to make sure that I'm hearing and understanding most perspectives, because I wasn't here. Mm-hmm. I wasn't in the moment. I'd never even been to WordCamp, so obviously I wasn't at the pivotal moment. But I recognize it. So like I wanted to hear everything because it's a moment of reflection as well as resetting. You can't reset the past, so what we need to do is look at our best foot forward. And with that, I think people need to be heard and validated first. And then to rebuild trust, it's not just one way, it's 2 ways. Let's listen, let's understand, and then let's do. And I think that we're hitting the moment, and WordCamp Europe has actually shown me this. A lot of the conversations I'm having, it's the time to do. That's what the doocracy is all about, right? Like we talk about the teams, like large teams and what teams are executing on, but how the fun, passionate part with all of these passionate people is you have some idea, something to do, and you start working on it, and then people come around you to do more. And I think that's what excites me about the project and excites me about the future of it, and I want people to feel safe and ready to do that again. And then clear visibility into where the project is headed. Like, clear, like, hey, these are our priorities. This is what we would like to achieve with the product, the actual core, and move all of those conversations back to what we're doing, back to what we're shipping. And so I get excited about that. And I think that through that and just delivering, right? Progress has been made since I joined. I think we just talked about this. I'm more behind the scenes. So it's, I do operate in a more, like, let's push things forward and do the best we can to get there. But we've made a lot of progress, and we will continue to make progress, but I hope to expedite a lot of that progress. And so, yeah, I think I think we're at a point, and I have called upon, and I call upon more people to reset their mindset. Let's think we've hit an inflection point. We're talking about what needs to change. Old ideas should come back. Let's re-talk about them. Let's make really quick decisions, and let's make the changes we want to make. Let's think about 5 for the future. Let's think about contributions, what a contribution means. Let's talk about rotation of teams or team players, right? Let's talk about this. These are calls that are coming into it. Let's do it. Let's execute against it. And let's treat it as an experiment. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And think about that in a deliverable mindset.
I think we've also talked about a lot of threats for WordPress in that past time, but maybe now is the time to also talk about chances that this turmoil maybe may cause. What do you see as the chances?
Yes, I think there's been a lot of conversations about threats. Well, WordPress is growing. I think people are not acknowledging that. WordPress is growing. And WordPress isn't the same to every country, and it's not the same to every continent and location, right? The messages that we want to send out to Africa versus Asia versus Europe are very different. And so some of the chances that I see are what we're doing in those emerging countries where WordPress is exciting and new and fun. How are we going to set up the next generation for success? Big chance. We also have a really big stake in AI, right? Like as the largest CMS, is like how we're thinking about this with the open source project, the largest open source. What can we do to help shape the standards of this? How can we make a baseline? What can we do to automate certain things versus, really challenging the way that we think about AI, but also what opportunities are going to spring from that? And I don't know I think people are very excited about the idea of AI, and it's become this, we're using this, we're using that, but what tool sets are coming? What's the next iteration? What's the 3 to 5 years? And I'm excited about the opportunity for future product development with that, because it will shift. And while it shifts, we're going to be teaching an entire society of what it means to live in an AI world. And WordPress has a very unique opportunity here, right? We are everywhere, and we are truly democratizing what that means. So your own individual piece of the web will become more and more important as search engines go away and people are starting to interact with the open web. The definition of the open web is going to adjust and shift. And so WordPress will become very important, right? Will there be a templatized version of that? Will the tooling will there be some sort of tooling to help you monetize that content? What is feeding into these agents? Is there going to be a feed into these agents? Where is the entry point? What entry point is that? And all of that is yet to be discovered. And while we do that, we should be thinking about the future in that term, what foundation and what springs off, your typical product ladder. And so I think that there's a lot of opportunity here in the ecosystem, not just for the project itself, like the internal core.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes in the web world itself. Yeah.
So it's exciting.
Let's maybe touch on that. You talked about the AI team, or you didn't talk about the AI team, but we should. The AI team has been formed. You made a post about that.
Yeah.
Maybe also explain to our readers and listeners, what is the AI team and what are they going to do?
We kicked off the AI team because we know that as the project, we need to take a stance and start giving direction on how we're going to be leading it forward. So it was a grassroots project that came up from multiple people who have high interest in AI. We have some Google people, we have 10up people, we have some Automatic people, and really it just sparked an interest because what we noticed is that every individual company is trying to solve for the future of this. And yet we could do a lot more if we brought them together under the open source pieces. So as of right now, they're looking at basically canonical plugins, how they're going to interact, what's that baseline feature. And I encourage everybody to get involved. I think go into the core AI, even if you want to just understand to learn more. I see some very quick wins, right? I know that we get excited and we want to do much larger things, and I recognize that. But I just met with the plugin review team, and they've automated so much around the plugin reviews, and they want to introduce real-time proactive scanning using AI. I think that that's a great opportunity. I think like introducing forum scrapers and help bots and like how we can get most of these things up and running will really allow for some of that heavy manual labor versus lets that pivot over to maybe something more enjoyable. I guess enjoyable is the wrong word, but something that you can really sink your teeth into and want to do in a different way, and then just optimize that work, because there's 5,000 plugins that are coming in consistently. And so it's overwhelming and people want to come in. And so I think these are the types of things that we can enhance with AI. And the AI, I sent them to the AI team, like figure out how we can maybe future-proof this. If short-term we can't, fine, let's figure out a way to fund it. But if we can future-proof it, that's even better, right? And as simple as like discoverability or findability within the marketplace pages is not that great. And then what is the future of search? I met with somebody who was the head of product, and he was talking to me about there's been a lot of studies that talk about AI's next iteration is not words. And so most people will actually use imagery to search. And so how are we interacting with images? And so what does that mean? And so today, if you look at the directory or you look at our image library, any of these things, what can we do to use AI to do an auto-describe of the image? What can we do to fix the search so it has better findability or discoverability? So like low-hanging things that we can just use for optimization, we should get excited about and try. So that's how I think about it.
Yeah. Let's just do the things that are just
right in front of us.
In front of us, yeah.
But it's the do part that I think we struggle with, and I think that's I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot like, well, people are, do we take the initiative? Yeah. Should we take the initiative? What if I work on this and then nothing happens? And I think those are healthy conversations. People should bring those up, and let's get quick decisions made, visibility and then decision making are very important. So if anybody does have those fears, please, let's bring them forward.
You also lead a very big project with many people involved. We now see that sometimes we have lots of ideas coming together. What do you think? What is the most important thing when we talk about those ideas, like at a WordCamp? What mindset should we have? We've talked about AI. We've talked about Gutenberg. Obviously, still is a big part of the evolving stuff in WordPress. We have talked about all the political stuff in there, but I sometimes think we should think about how we should talk to each other. What do you think? What would be like the most important, maybe 2 or 3 adjectives we should remind ourselves of?
Well, I think that every conversation should end with an action. And so I do think that we need to pivot out of this continuous conversation. And I do think that the underlying issue there is either nobody is full-blown taking control or taking the decision or feels like they can't take the decision. So there's something that needs to be answered there. But I think, approach everything with positive intent. The community and the folks that have been in it for quite some time have been through something that they are navigating through, they're continuing to navigate through. But let's remember that there are people in the project, assume it within positive intent, have clean and clear objectives, and actions, follow-up. I think the follow-through is the most important. And when we're speaking to each other, remember that. Because it's easy when we talk about, there's cultural differences and there's language differences, and it's like, but if there is positive intent, you can get past those things very quickly. And then we need to move to discussion to action very quickly. I had some conversations with some folks, I guess it was the first night we were here, because it was at our after party.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, I have all of these ideas, how do I get them through? Like, what do I do? How do I get it done? And it's like, because I need to form a team. I should try to go and get a team going. And I said, but why do you need a team? Like, I really want to understand why. Why do you need a team to do this? Do you need help? If you want to make the formality of creating a team and getting maybe that infrastructure, or maybe there's a perceived weight that goes along with it, sure, that's great. But what if you have an idea and you want to execute against it? Why not just start on that idea? Because the best case scenario is, maybe, I shouldn't say best case, but a great case is that you've built it, it's a great idea, people rally around and you execute, and then it is a team and it gets larger.
It's actually a common way that new features have been evolved in the past.
The way it should be,
yeah.
Right? And then the other thing is, like, maybe you've built it and it's not something that should go in today, but you're passionate about it and you spin it off and you figure out a way to making it a plugin, or you figure out another way to kind of to get it into the ecosystem. But we shouldn't I think we need to go back to that type of fun. And there is something to be said around how we're welcoming people, how we're bringing people in, and the curtness in the conversation and the style. We do need to remember, like, oh, that's just this person, or that's just this. That's how we communicate, direct. And it's like, well, there's directness and there's kindness. And let's just remember that. Like, let's assume positive intent. Questions are okay. It's okay to be inquisitive. Perhaps explain where you've looked before, what you should be doing. But like, let's start to move past that, or at least attempt to.
Yeah. Let's zoom back to the point you just made about the team forming and actually just trying first. Would you say that maybe we should learn to fail fast again?
Yes. Like I was just talking about, even just what our the project is now so large, right? So the project is large, and we're stuck in some old legacy, right? Like the way we define things, the way we assign things.
That sometimes hinders agility. Exactly. I have to say, I only came into WordPress not even 10 years ago, and that's sometimes what made me feel a bit weird about WordPress, that everything needs to be institutionalized.
Yes, and we should be moving quicker. We should just be executing and doing. And I always say, like, I rarely am told yes. I'm always told no, right? So if I just keep moving and tracking and keep going and keep going and keep going until somebody says, didn't like it, but I've gotten all this way, right? And so there's learning that has gone on there, or this is working and that's not, or then it opens up a conversation of, well, what did you not like about that? Rather than waiting for a whole bunch of people to get on board with one in a structure where there's really no singular leader, and or a structure where you can't call people the leads, right? And so we need to be thinking about it in this. If it is, how do we debate, decide, and deliver very quickly? Mm-hmm. And if there is something that you're stuck on, how can you escalate it appropriately? Or what is that decision making, and why, like what, right? But back to like generalized product delivery for anything that you do. Does it help the user, right? Does it solve a problem? Or is it something we want to do? Is it something that's fun and I just want to do it? Or is it actually, this is a true problem, we should solve it? And how are you explaining that to others? Like, hey, I need a developer, or I need a designer. And it's like, hey, I have this problem. This is a user problem. And it's like, where's the weight of this? How many users does it affect, right? And so kind of navigating, it's a really good skill to understand how you can navigate through it, which is why usually product or program managers are so matter of fact. Just, this is what it does. Okay, it's not a priority. Okay, I understand it. I'll go work on it. Oh, okay, I'll leave it.
Yeah.
Right, and so very quickly getting to that end result.
Yeah, I think focusing on pain points is really something we maybe lost in the last years of WordPress, that we got so caught up in our own matters, maybe.
Yes, psychologically, we love making an impact and delivering something and doing something and watching that work, watching it work. And so what is the impact? And how are you presenting the impact, right? Like, I've done X, Y, Z, look at the impact that it's had. And I talk a lot to people around, like, the narrative. This is what I'm working on. This is why I'm working on it. This is the impact it will have. And then reflecting on it. Oh, it didn't have that much of an impact. Maybe if I tweaked it, actually it wasn't worth doing. Or not worth doing, but it wasn't impactful. Let's move on.
A learning,
right? And so a big piece, it's just a circle. It's a constant circle. And it's a big piece of all parts of the project. It's pause, reflect, move. Yeah, I think about it in that way.
I like that. When you now think back on the last, wasn't even a year, that you have been part of
6 months?
Yeah, of the project, what would you, or what are you most excited about for the next 6 or next year, or whatever?
So I'm really excited about some of the things that are coming up with education.
Yeah.
So I think of things in pieces. At this point, I think of things in pieces, and I push them to get them moving forward. And then long term, I can think about how they connect. I'm already thinking about how they interconnect. But I think the education and the space of education, not just going into universities, but training the trainer, but bringing in new contributors that are younger and understand that there are career paths here, is very powerful. It helps the sustainability of the project. It helps bring new ideas, new thinking, changing in here, as well as training the trainer. Going out and making WordPress outside of this system or this ecosystem or this community base that's very internal WordPress. We've been here for 15 years, we've done it, and bringing outside people in and thinking about it in that way. And at the same time, bringing inside people out. So if you think, when we come to a WordCamp and we all talk about WordPress, can we think or bring in folks that are now talking to us about next iterations of AI or the future of commerce, or what is it that is tangible to the WordPress ecosystem that can be beneficial to get the people who live and breathe WordPress thinking about other pieces and how it fits, inspiring, right? And then from the outside, getting our people who are experts here opportunity out. Like we recently went, Jamie for the education team recently went to OFF. It was a sold out session for WordPress, right? And he went and he trained a whole bunch of people on WordPress, just people introducing them to what it is. And I think that's very important because it creates a flywheel of, and then if we can launch more things like the Hope Scholarship. So imagine you bring in young folks who are contributing and we've gotten them excited, and then they apply for a scholarship to get to go to a WordCamp, and this is what they get to see. Then they get that. Then they get the sense of community and how many different pieces are in this project. It's not just for developers. It's not just for this. Oh, I can move this. Hey, let's talk. This is where it's happening. So like you're basically creating like an educational feeder, right? And if we can rethink about how like our contributions and what contributions are and impactful contributions and how we can fund contributions in a different way, we start to tie all of that together for a generation that's, hey, I have opportunity here, and this is the future, and we help that. And I haven't met many folks here that have only been on the project for like a year.
Yeah.
Most people are 7 years, 10 years, you know, it's a lot.
Yeah, I think you could also say that for the age of the typical WordPresser, avid WordPresser, I'm one of the youngest, I would say, and I'm not that young anymore. What would you say, how can we bring those young people in?
I think through education.
Yeah.
I think we do need to think about our community style, how welcoming we are. I've heard story after story about not feeling welcome. So I do think we need that. I think there's a lot of talk about the mentorship program and how we can get the like, mentors, audio mentors, and what that would look like. I think that's great. And I do think that like changing and being a part of those more localized WordPress events. But with the launch of WordPress Campus Connect, it has really caught steam. Like they're launching them all over. And it's very much bringing it to the classroom. I think on the front end, if we can start doing more with the training of train the trainer, we can start to spread that out and get people excited. And so I think about those things more than anything, because then by the time that happens, now you've introduced them into the community in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that vision.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking your time. What is one of the top on your bucket list for Basel? Are you staying for a day?
I'm not. I'm leaving.
Oh, no.
I'm leaving.
Anything you have on your list?
My bucket list was to do the Rhine, right? Wasn't that what that was?
Yeah.
Everybody was talking that it was raining.
The weather kind of drowned that.
None of that. We did, like, I grew up, like, we did floating, or I river rafted as a kid, and then I did a whole bunch of floating, so I got to do that somewhere else. That'd be so much fun.
Yeah, let's hope for a future location with a river through a city somewhere.
Someday, but it'll never replace Basel. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.